IRB Easter Message 2025. Easter greetings to the Irish people and the Irish diaspora worldwide, who together constitute the Irish nation. We invite you to reflect with pride at the men and women of the IRB, the Irish Volunteers, and the Irish Citizen Army, who rose up in 1916 and ignited the flame of freedom, to whom we now owe so much today. We must look forward as we face the threat to the flame of freedom ignited in 1916 being extinguished by the enslaving globalist onslaught, which is proving to be such a threat to our very existence as a proud and an ancient nation and a free people. The Irish people have survived 800 years of the onslaught of invasion, extermination, and plantation. There is now a government-supported invasion and plantation taking place. That is no less dangerous than the Elizabethan and Cromwellian plantations. We resisted them, and despite overwhelming odds, in time we prevailed. And despite all odds, the Irish people and Irish nation have survived and to this day remain intact. Likewise, we must resist the present invasion and plantation, again, despite overwhelming globalist odds and internal political treachery from the treasonous Dublin government and the complicit and equally treacherous opposition, especially those of the Brits out, everybody else in variety. Those are the despicables who can't even define what a woman is or tell you how many genders there are. No government in Dublin or Stormont, treacherously acting as puppets for their globalist masters, have the right to allow undocumented migrants of any persuasion into this country in direct violation of their own laws. As Cicero, the Roman philosopher, said, "A nation can survive its fools, even its tyrants, but it cannot survive treason from within." That is what we are facing today. Those economic and undocumented migrants are being housed in hotels and especially formulated accommodation, while tens of thousands of our own Irish people are left homeless on the streets. That is treachery. Thousands of our own youth are fleeing the country in search of a future which is no longer available to them in Ireland. That is also the result of a treacherous government replacement agenda, completely designed to replace the Irish people. As J.D. Vance, US Vice President, recently said, Europe is at risk of engaging in civilizational suicide. They are unable or unwilling to control their borders. You see them starting to limit the free speech of their own citizens, even as those citizens are protesting against things like the border invasion. Ireland is at the forefront of civilizational suicide. The government, the media, academia, and even the judiciary are acting as bought and paid for lackeys, and are acting as instruments of the globalist agenda for the destruction of the Irish nation and the replacement with a homogeneous culturalist slavery. Our enemies are numerous and powerful, but the will of the Irish people, when united in resistance, is infinitely more powerful. There is considerable and growing resistance to this invasion and plantation, especially where small communities such as Dundrum and Tipperary, which is now being swamped with migrant numbers greater than the numbers of the local population. This is unsustainable. There is considerable and growing resistance to this, but is not united. And until it is united, it will have no power and no influence. When the government, by their actions, are proving to be the enemies of the Irish people, we, the Irish people, must unite and protest and protect our communities and the very existence of our proud and ancient Irish civilization and national identity. William Camden, a prominent English antiquarian 1551 to 1623, said, "The Irish people, though distinct and oft unyielding, have customs older than many reckon, and a lineage that reaches into the mist of time. Their tongue and traditions bear the mark of antiquity. Yes, ours are an ancient and proud people, with a rich history and a unique, rich culture that has survived centuries of every and very considerable onslaughts. There is now a new onslaught on our communities in progress, with government complicity. Consequently, our very existence as a distinct people, a rich culture, and an ancient nation are at risk of extermination. Only a united people can resist this, no matter what our differences are. As distinct groups with different aims and agendas, we must realize that our differences are as nothing when we are faced with invasion, plantation, and annihilation. If we do not bury our differences and resist as a strong, united front, the prospects are indeed grim." Over the last decade, 20% of those residing in Ireland have been planted here and housed in our cities, our towns, our villages, and our communities. This is the highest level of plantation in any Western nation, equalled only by Sweden, which is in a state of national destruction. Are we going to allow Ireland, with government complicity, to complete the destruction of our nation and that which we have fought for and preserved for 800 years? Every problem has a solution. And the solution to our problem, Ireland's plantation problem, is the formation of a united and well-coordinated resistance movement. Let us bury our individual differences. For the sake of our people and our nation, groups must form in every community under a national broad front. All politicians and political parties that support the invasion and plantation of Ireland must be relentlessly pursued to the breaking point. We must recognise the fact that they are our enemies and the enemies of Ireland, and must be relentlessly exposed as such. Out of that, we can build a powerful national movement to, 1, create local Irish plantation resistance committees and a national committee comprising of delegates from the local committees. 2, awaken or educate our people to the level and the gravity of the threat we are facing. 3, expose and oppose all politicians and political parties that are complicit in the destruction of Ireland. 4, pack all political meetings with our vocal opposition to what is going on. 5, place a permanent picket in all constituency offices of those politicians. 6, organise meetings and marches in every community to highlight the problem, and keep doing it. There is an insidious form of censorship imposed on us. There is a consensus of falsehood based around gender dysphoria and chants of racism, far right, and similar slurs to suppress any discussion or opposition. Indeed, they ignore or censor your opinions unless you're regurgitating their opinions and their agenda. While the silent majority of the Irish people continue to remain silent and mute, they will continue to be tyrannised by a very vocal, deranged minority who can't tell you what a woman is or how many genders there are. Above all, they support and facilitate the invasion and plantation of our country. As future generations look back at the leaders of 1916 with pride, they will look back at the leaders of 2025 with contempt and loathing. They will see the long-term havoc they have visited on the Irish people and the searing wounds they have left behind. They will look in horror at the abuse of indoctrination and medical mutilation of a generation of children for the sake of gender insanity. They will look at the insanity of political leaders who couldn't tell you what a woman is. Worst of all, they will see our self-serving leaders so imbued in global fiction that they allow and facilitate an invasion and plantation of Ireland that inflicted negative and destructive implications for generations. But will they see an Irish generation that united and stood up for them to stop the treasonous rot, or will they see a disunited rabble who were so self-centered that they couldn't agree to unite against the tyranny and save their nation and its ancient culture? The answer to that is in our hands. Let us not be found wanting. I ask you to reflect on those words as I wish you a happy Easter. Is Misha Tomas Orin on Tuchtaran IRB. Thank you.